The views and opinions expressed by guests on this podcast are solely their own and do not represent the position of the host, this show, or any organization either party is affiliated with. All content is shared purely for educational and inspirational purposes. Nothing discussed here constitutes professional advice. Listeners are encouraged to independently verify any information before acting on it. The host is not responsible for any outcomes resulting from guest statements. By listening, you agree that you are solely responsible for how you use the information shared. Welcome to the Tech Sharmit podcast, where technology is not just news, but the roadmap to the future. This is a space where we explore the latest tech trends, AI, startups, gadgets, and the ideas that redefine the way we think. Leading this conversation is Amit Sharma, globally recognized as Tech Sharmit. A technologist from Bharat, Amit brings an Indian perspective to the global technology landscape. With deep technical expertise and strong industry insight, and for his contributions and impact within the global tech community, he has been recognized with several prestigious honors, including Google Developer Expert, Microsoft MVP, IBM Champion, and Planet Mainframe Influencer. Through this podcast, he shares practical knowledge, real-world perspectives, and globally relevant thinking designed to help you stay ahead in an ever-evolving technology landscape. Before we begin, make sure to subscribe to the Tech Sharmit channel to stay updated with future episodes. And if you're looking to level up your skills, don't forget to explore the Tech Sharmit digital course book in the description box, where you'll find thousands of free programming courses curated to help you grow as a developer. So plug in your headphones and join us as we begin today's episode of the Tech Sharmit podcast.
Hello everyone, welcome back to the Tech Sharmit podcast. Today I am joined by another very special guest, Alexander Amin, who is joining us from Germany. If I talk about Alex, he is an AI engineer, Google developer expert in cloud AI, entrepreneur, international speaker, and enterprise AI architect. His journey spans software entrepreneurship, cloud technologies, artificial intelligence, and helping organizations transform ambitious AI ideas into scalable production system. So in today's episode, we will explore enterprise AI, cloud architecture, trustworthy AI, and many more other things. But before we proceed further with this discussion, I would like to thank Alex for joining us today in this episode. And now I request you to please initiate the discussion by telling us a bit about yourself.
Yeah, thank you so much for the invite. I'm so excited to be here today. Um, I think you already made a perfect introduction for me. There's not much more I can say for myself. Thank you so much.
Okay. So yeah, I think before we talk on your expertise areas, I just wanted to know about your initial days of journey because you founded your first software agency at the age of just 23, and it was a like it was the same agency that later IQ had. So walk us through that journey. Like, what made you take that entrepreneurship journey leap so early in your journey, in your life?
I think it was a combination of things. Actually, like yesterday night, I was thinking about how I started, and I found something from like way back in the day. It's a CD of SUSE Linux 10
Okay.
that my high school computer science teacher gifted me back then because I was always like a super huge computer nerd, right?
Mhm.
Always since I can remember back. But then in school, I started working more on this, and then later throughout university, I got my first contract as an Android engineer, as a
Okay.
freelance engineer. And this was, I think, in my second semester of computer science.
Mhm.
And it was basically to build an Android app to find clubs. They had an API and they just needed an Android app. So I was like, cool, let's do it. This was 2013, 14, 15, something like that. And I was working on this project and it was going super well, and I learned so much from it from a book back in the day. We learned from programming books. And in 2015, one of my close friends who I went to school with
Mhm.
approached me, and we got started talking about um, what we should do next because we had just won a hackathon. And from
Okay.
this hackathon, somebody wanted to start a startup with us, and we got like really hyped and into the idea of founding, but then that didn't end up happening because of the one of the well, founders not going through. And then my friend and I, we were still really wanted to do something of our own because we just already found the idea so interesting to be able to help other people realize their dreams, their ambitions, but them not having the tech skills to execute it, and us having them, we thought it would be really
Yes.
exciting to build something like that. And
Okay.
that's how we got started. I think it took us the longest that whole process that took us was finding the name.
So, what was the first programming language that you start with, and how it got transitioned by the time?
The first one I ever started was Python,
Python. Okay.
way back, but I only did that for like a couple of days and then I stopped because I thought it was too complicated. Then years later, when I first started like building actual apps, um, it was C Sharp, Windows Forms.
Okay.
That was the first thing I actually started building a bunch of apps with, and I built like a tool to manage my StarCraft 2. It's a video
Oh.
game installation because I really liked to play that game back in the day. And if you wanted to play in different regions, so for example, I'm in Germany and
Mhm.
I wanted to play on the US servers, then you would have to basically install the game again. So I wrote a C Sharp program with like a really pretty GUI
Mhm.
that would let you change the region config file so you could switch with one button. And then I
Okay.
had like have it have pop up as like the Windows, the little bottom right corner of the screen. And then that was that. Um, yeah, that's how it started, but actually dropped Windows and C Sharp quite quickly and moved on to Android development.
Okay.
And that's what stuck with me for I think the longest time until 2016. I was only doing Android.
Yeah, I think that's the best practical way to learn any programming, because if you know how to use that programming skill to do your own work, right? Like you created some application for your gaming purpose or any other person purpose also. So it is the best practical way, right? Because now we know like what we are going to build and how it is going to impact our journey, right? So at that mind, with that mindset, like we also know how to understand others' requirement, right? Because once you know what people are actually looking for, then you know how you can build a software for that and applications for that. So it's a
For
very
sure.
practical way to learn. Okay, so Alex, like you have gone from managing tech partnership at ARD Online to becoming an independent AI engineer and GD. So, what was the turning point that pushed you toward more AI, towards the artificial intelligence specifically? Because nowadays everyone is talking about AI, but you when you started it, it was not that hype, right? So, what really influenced you to start with your AI journey?
Oh yeah. It's a really good question. I think, we have to distinguish from machine learning.
Mm-hmm.
That's something I always like. I played around a bunch with PyTorch and TensorFlow and things, but I never actually had any cool use case because if you want to build a model that does something, you need, as you said, like some practical use case that you can
Yeah.
build around with. But when AI in the form that we have it today came around, that was around the time when ChatGPT had their API out,
Mm-hmm.
the ChatGPT developer portal. And I realized I could use this for a bunch of problems that I couldn't solve before.
Mm-hmm.
And then some of my customers had the same issues. So, for example, just natural language instructions into structured output. I think that's until today the most used feature that I use AI for, just turning something that is just text for humans into JSON. It's just so incredibly powerful and useful. And yeah, that's the first steps I took into the ChatGPT API and spent way too much money on GPT to try and build a bunch of different application prototypes and um, went in once and couldn't get out anymore.
Okay. So let's say if in 2026, if someone with a passion to learn about AI, right? Not only like a chatbot, right? But they really wanted to know how agents are built, how we can utilize it, right? So what piece of advice would you like to give them to start their journey? okay, so that they can learn everything, and even without paying anything, right? Because sometimes like student also feel that they don't have that much of money to invest in tools and other things. So do you have any recommendation, any course or any platform from where they can learn about this agentic journey?
Oh yeah. I think everyone starting now is in such a great place because the ecosystem is like it's moving really fast, but I feel like
Yes.
it's starting to settle a little bit. There's still new frameworks coming out left and right, but
Hmm.
there's a lot of like clear paths you can go down now. All the big AI providers are like publishing more solid guides that don't change every week, and there's a lot of like frameworks that are like crystallizing as like the way to go. Actually, just today uploaded a video to YouTube about how to pick the right Google flavor SDK to build agents and what my
Okay.
decision making is. And maybe that's a good point to start.
Yes.
But I think in the end, if you want to start building agents, you can talk to the agents. It sounds simple, but it sounds way too simple. But if you ask any AI app, hey, how do I build an agent? It's gonna tell you, and they all have really good learning features now.
Right.
And then if you want to become a little bit more structured, like I'm a little bit biased as a GDE, but Google has this really cool skills platform where there's like really good labs that take you like by your hand and guide you through how to build your first or even second or third agentic application, or how to learn what embeddings are, or how to build like a multi-agent system. And if you're not like this kind of person that likes self-guidance, depending on where you are, there's so many really cool communities out there. I mean, the
Mhm.
GDGs, they're everywhere. And then
Yes.
there's also tons of other community meetups. And I personally love those kind of meetups to learn
Correct.
because you just meet people who you can talk with about the problems they're having. And then you realize, first of all, you're not the only one who's struggling to make an AI do what you tell it to do.
Yeah.
And then you figure out how people solve this issue. And
Correct.
this is so rewarding and helpful also to be able to share. I mean, that's what my background is also. I love to share what I learned so other people can advance as well.
Yes.
And it costs nothing, right? At worst case, it costs you walking to some place near you, depending on where you are.
Correct. Yeah, and I think you just shared a best practical advice. Like you can start with agents itself. Like you can search on agents, like how to build the agents, and once you have at least basic ideas how to create these kind of basic stuff, then when you interact with leaders, like-minded people in the meetups, then you can collaborate with them. You can innovate something new. So I think that's the most practical way that anyone can follow to learn about their agentic journey.
For
Okay.
sure.
So now, Alex, will talk bit about the gap that you saw between the between the AI models and also the scalable execution. Because while doing some research, I noticed that you describe your specialty as a bridging the gap between the AI models and scalable execution in practice. So what does that gap actually look like, and where, what do you think, like where do the teams get stuck when they are implementing these things?
Yeah, this is something you see over and over again. Companies go out and they say, we want to use AI.
Yeah.
And then you ask them, why do you need AI? And they're like, because we need to do AI. But
Correct.
what is the problem you're trying to solve? And that's something like everyone wants to innovate, right? And innovation is
Correct.
important, but you need to take a step back and in many cases first define what is the problem you're trying to solve. Don't use AI just for the sake of using AI. Use it to solve a specific problem you have, because I'm sure there is problems. So whenever I have a client approach me and tell me, hey, we want to use AI, that's the first thing I do with them. I take them as like, okay, hey, what do we actually want to solve? What is the problem that you have that we can take? And then let's talk about what kind of system we can take advantage of to help you solve this issue. I think this basic structure already solves a lot of cases, and then
Correct.
from there out, you keep moving.
Yes. Okay, so now we'll talk about some of your international talks as well, because you give so many international technical talks, right? So out of all those talks, if you had to select one particular topic or maybe the idea that you found yourself repeating most often because you still believe that industry still hasn't caught on that topic, they are not putting attention on that topic. So, what topic or what I would idea you would suggest everyone to stay focused on, and the topic that you really want to repeat every time when you are presenting at any international conferences?
I think, I mean, if we just talk about topics right now, I think I've repeated the same talk 3 times,
Mm-hmm.
four. Uh, but the thing is, every time I give it, so this is about a legal AI assistant we built for a law firm in
Okay.
Central America.
Mm-hmm.
And I've repeated this talk, I think, 3 or 4 times now. Every time I give this talk, the feedback is the same. Wow, we're building this exact problem and we can't solve this issue. How did you solve it? And it comes down to the concepts of dealing with AI. I had a conversation when I was at Google I/O a couple of months ago
Mm-hmm.
with another AI engineer, and we were talking about how to process really large amounts of data.
Mm-hmm.
And something that is obvious to me is I can't feed a 300-page PDF into an AI and expect I get a perfect result.
Yeah.
But then he was telling me that the amount of times that he has talked to AI engineers, software engineers, vibe coders that have had this exact issue because they have been feeding 300, 400, 500-page PDF documents into one prompt and didn't solve it, it
Right.
surprised me, right? So there's a lot of people who are really advanced, and I have good friends who are vibe coders, pure vibe coders with a non-technical background who are building amazing applications. And
Mm.
then I have super experienced engineers who I meet and they tell me, I have never used the Gemini API before. And being in this bubble that we all are, we sometimes take things for granted that we think are really obvious and other developers not. So I think it's not one specific topic that I keep repeating, but sharing real use cases I find
Mhm.
personally very valuable just because when I hear someone tell me how they solved a specific problem, it inspires me in ways that I can solve other real problems.
Yeah. Yes. And you know what, like Alex, you have presented sessions for technical folks, students, and even the young developers as well. But if we compare the explaining the things and need of the AI to stakeholders comparatively, like explaining the developers, they know like why it is so important and why they should adopt it. But what's the hardest part of getting enterprise stakeholders, uh, like the decision makers, to trust and adopt the AI driven system nowadays? Is it really tough? If it is tough, then how you manage those kind of talks when you are interacting with the decision makers?
Yeah, it's this one's also really interesting. So it really makes a big difference who you talk to. So if it is that person who I mentioned before who's like, we need to do AI because
Yeah.
AI, then there's not much convincing because they just want, head through the wall. We want to use AI no matter what. But then when
Correct.
you talk to more experienced decision makers like CTOs and whatnot, they care a lot more about evals. How trustworthy is your system? How
Correct.
trustworthy is this AI? And this is also a huge trend, right? I mean, can't call it trend. It's like probably the most important thing when you deal with non-deterministic systems to make sure that the outputs are actually valid, correct, trustworthy.
Hmm.
And apart from just I'm saying it like it's not much, ensuring that your AI system is outputting correct data using proper evals and so on. You also have to build a trust UX. I think that's really important to be able to surface real world connections to whatever your AI says. So when, for example, I ask the AI for a fact and the AI does not give me a link to where this fact is from, I
Yeah.
just don't trust it. That's just me. But this is something that if you just surface the information immediately, the doubt won't even come up. And
Correct.
these kind of like trying to convince people, first of all, that, hey, look, we have eval systems in place to make sure the data is correct. And then on the other side, also showing in the UX that the data we're surfacing has a link to the real world helps people trust these results and this data from your AI applications a lot more.
Right. Okay. And other than like beyond those technical sessions as a GD and also as a tech professional, you have contributed a lot, right? But apart from this, you are also architecting a native AI legal intelligence platform. So first of all, I really want to understand like what is the need of that? Like what problem you are solving that are not solved with the existing tools, right? So what problem in the legal industry is there that it is really helping and solving it?
This is such an interesting project. As I said, this is the one I've been doing so many talks about, and the feedback has been that I think at every single conference I've done this talk in Germany, in Romania, in
Mm-hmm.
Italy. I'm about to do it in Mexico, um, and other places. I don't remember how many times I've given this talk now, but uh, every time I have an update from my side, and every time I get the same feedback, we're
Yeah.
building something like this, and we can't solve it. And the problem that lawyers have and is that you can't ask any AI chat app, hey, how is it defined if the mango from my neighbor's tree falls into my property? Who gets to eat
Mm.
that mango, right?
Yeah.
So this varies by country by country. For example, in Germany, if it falls on my property, I can eat it because it's abandoned property. I'm
Okay.
not a lawyer. If that's wrong, don't sue me. But if, for example, the project we're building is in El Salvador in Central America, there you can't eat it, and you even have to give your neighbor access to your property to retrieve it at a time where it suits you.
Okay.
So this varies so much by country, and if you ask ChatGPT or Gemini or Claude or whoever, they get it right and they get it wrong. But
Hmm.
that's because they rely on training data or they rely on web search.
Correct.
Instead, if you feed this information directly into a RAG system and make sure that it's deterministically retrieved, this is reliable, trustable information. So this comes back to making your system trustable, right?
Yes.
This is one issue that this problem is trying to solve, and then specifically for the market we're building this at, it's a very bureaucratic market. So for a lot of processes that these lawyers have to do, it's it's a lot of copy paste work that
Mm.
can't be automated with classic tools. You do need some AI assistance. So, for example, they have to fill in passport information into Word documents. And I
Mm-hmm.
could do this with code and like write a bunch of regex and make sure that text replacing works correctly and rephrasing works correctly. But there's a lot of nuances to it. For example, in Spanish, verbs can change, words can change when the gender of a person changes. So, for example, we have a document written for me, and then I have to write it for a female person. Then I have to rewrite a lot of this text and a lot of syntax changes. And AI is really good at this.
Yes.
So that's like one other use case that takes advantage of the understanding of phrases that these models have. And
Hmm.
a lot of smaller use cases that are really accelerated and empowered by the the content understanding that these models have and RAG systems that support it.
Yeah, and I think this is a really very interesting thing because if you are building something that is not already there, and that's really what matters, right? Because you have to deliver that solution which is not already there. So if we talk about the tools, they are not providing that kind of thing. In fact, there are so many kind of challenges like hallucination. So, Alex, like we all know that legal work demands precision as well as low tolerance for the hallucination at any cost, right? So, while architecting the thing, like how do you architect for reliability and trust when the stakes of being wrong are very high, right? Are very high. So, in that situation, how you take care of those situations?
Yeah, one of the lines from the video I just uploaded is a wrong citation is a fireable offense for a lawyer.
Hmm.
Um, that's how high the stakes are, right? So
Yes.
if I ask an AI chat app, hey, how does this law define? And it gives me some other result from a different country, I'm screwed. I might lose my
Hmm.
job. I mean, worst case,
Correct.
right? You never know. So in this case, we have to make sure that our RAG is just super accurate. And there's a lot of like tricks that we built in to make sure that our data is valid. So we have a bunch of evals set up on the data ingestion side. So for example, the simplest one is when we ingest the data via OCR from a legal textbook.
Hmm.
These legal texts are machine readable, but some of them have broken fonts. So, for example, one might have Article 1 with a higher case O, which stands for primero in Spanish,
Hmm.
which means first. Um, that gets parsed by PDF copy paste as 100, which is completely wrong. So we do OCR because of that. And then we just do Control F into the PDF to evaluate if the text is correct, if it still matches. Because
Okay.
this still works. You can still compare even these broken glyphs to your extracted text because if the text still is essentially the same. So this is like one eval system that we have, like a simplified version of how that works. And then on the other hand, the text that we surface in your UX, as I explained, we run validation on the output. So for example, when we link a law or an article or in the UI that a lawyer asked, for example, we ran a legal research about this mango question that I gave you. Then we run after the prompt is finished and during the prompt runs a check to see if this law actually exists. So the way this works, our model outputs a markdown link format, so text and ID, which we can regex out reliably and then query our database.
Yeah.
And then with this validation, we can actually make sure, okay, cool, this ID is not hallucinated. And the model output, okay, this is article 519. Is this actually article 519 in our database? So we run double deterministic validation to make sure that what the model says is actually true. In 99% of the cases, it's correct, but we need 100%. So if this ever goes wrong, which it actually sometimes does on the cheaper models, which we still want to use because, cost, then we send this back to the model and we tell it, model, hey, dear model, this is not correct, right? And then a bunch of checks that go in this direction to make sure the output, everything the model set is grounded in reality. As I said, 99% of the cases, it is all correct. But for that 1%, the extra evaluation, make sure we reach the 100.
Correct. Yeah, I think now this will give the clarity to all those who are using the prompts to do certain tasks. So they will understand like how much things are processing at the back. And there are so many experts like Alex who are taking care of those situations so that it will give you the perfect product that meets your requirement, right? So it's not everyone's cup of tea. There are dedicated team who are putting lots of efforts to build those kind of agents, and then that agents are helping you out with just few lines of prompt. So that's a very great contribution for the IT industry. And now, Alex, I just wanted to know because while doing some research about your profile, I found one very interesting thing that for a longer period of your professional journey, you have contributed as a freelance developer, right? And later, like now you are also planning to join, contribute as a full-time employee, right? So I just want to know about this transition, like why you think, firstly, like why you decided to start a freelancing job, and after some time, like why you are thinking that yes, this is the right time to contribute it as a full-time employee as well. So what is your philosophy behind that?
Yeah, for sure. Freelancing is, in this time where everyone's building, freelancing is just such a cool place to be because so the last couple of years that I was freelancing, it was the AI gold rush, right?
Yeah.
Everyone was building, everyone wanted to build the next cool app. And as a freelancer, you have the advantage of you get to help everyone, right?
Correct.
You have somebody who's like, hey, I want to build an app for pet sitting, right? Okay, cool. Let me help you with that. And then at the same time, you can help another client who's building the next restaurant discovery app, and so on and so on and so on. And it's just, for me, it was the perfect place to be because it lets me learn. It lets me take so many real use cases and just build, 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 build. At the same time, I have the time to build my own stuff. And it
Correct.
was just so an exciting time. But this excitement is, in the end, one realization that I had is that once you're external and on your own, you have limitations, right? I mean, on one person, I'm pretty fast, but I can't replace a 10-person team, right?
Right.
So when I was thinking about, okay, cool, how can I scale this further? Today, building something is no longer limited by your ability as a programmer, but rather by your ability to distribute. So distribution right now is more important than everything. And I'm a software engineer and techie by heart. I'm not great at sales.
Hmm.
So I saw that the the bigger your team, the more you can execute.
Yes.
Not just engineering, but just everyone around that. And also the opportunities that it opens up, like not just building prototypes and MVPs and so on. You have much more impactful projects that can help a lot more people when you join something bigger. And that's why I'm in 2 months. I'm going to start as a principal AI engineer at ML6 in Amsterdam.
All right. So Alex, like if we look at your overall journey, so you have contributed as a freelancer, as a GD, and with your work, like you have touched so many lives, right? But if you had to talk about your support system, okay, looking back on your own journey, who were the key people around you who had a defining impact on your journey so far?
Ooh, so many people. I mean, you think about just like when I started coding in school, one of my closest friends, Florian Komet, he really helped me like actually get things off the ground,
Okay.
like getting my first programs to work. I remember him helping me quite a lot back then in school. And then later on, I mean, I met so many amazing people. I mean, I couldn't list them all, but
Yes.
um, it, it's just so many paths that I took over the course of the last 15 years. It's impossible to list everyone and thank them, but
Hmm.
it's been quite a journey. I mean, that's a common thing to say,
Yes.
right? But
Yes.
I never really had a mentor or anything. I had a lot of really intelligent and amazing people that helped me along the way. But I had to teach myself how to get things done and try to find the best way to solve the problems at hand, right?
Hmm. Correct. Okay, so before we conclude this discussion, I just want to take two things from your end. The one, like about the place you belong from. So, as a proud citizen of Germany, if you had to share one piece about your country with the rest of the global world, what one thing is there that is really close to your heart about Germany and that you wanted to share with all of us?
It's kind of funny. I just said I'm moving to Amsterdam, but yeah, I'm actually leaving here with like a tear in my eye because I really love living here in Germany. I think Germany gives a lot of people the opportunities they need to
Yeah.
grow. It's it's an amazing place to learn, to grow, to research, to build your career.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it might be a little bit difficult. I have a lot of friends who migrated here, and the biggest difficulty I see people having here is bureaucracy and the social life. And like, we talk a lot about work and career and professional life, but building a social life also really helps you integrate in or feeling at home.
Mm.
And I think that's something that is the hardest here, but it's still totally doable. So I think here you have the opportunity to work at a lot of really cool companies, a lot of really cool startups. We have a really good startup ecosystem in Germany, in Munich and Berlin, and a lot of people who are super motivated to keep learning and growing. I mean, German universities are doing really amazing things. The TUM is probably one of the coolest universities that I know. And the best part, I think honestly, the very best part about Germany is Europe and how central we are in Europe, just physically located. So you live in Germany, you work with people in France, in the Netherlands, in Belgium, in Denmark, everywhere, and this multicultural, you know, community that we have here just brings so much. How do you say like the more different stories come together, the better we can live together, we can innovate, we can come up with new ideas. I think
Mm.
that's probably my favorite part about being here. Where everything converges kind of here because we're just physically centrally located, right?
Yeah.
Many people here in Europe speak different languages just because we have to communicate with each other. And I think that's a
Correct.
beautiful thing. I mean, AI helps us communicate with others because now we have like amazing live translation
Mm.
and things, but it still liberates you in a way to be able to speak with somebody in their language. And I find this is something very common in different European countries and also here in Germany, and you notice that every time. So I guess to sum up, the togetherness of being able to meet, work, and live with people from different cultures is probably my favorite part about Germany, and I would recommend anybody to try to give it a shot to come here.
Okay. All right. So yeah, thank you so much, Alex, for joining us in this episode. And just one more thing, like if someone wants to follow your work, so where they can find your work? Is it a YouTube channel or a blog, or where they can find your resources?
Yeah, for sure. I think the best place to find me is on my website, alexamin.de. I
Okay.
link every other channel that I have on there. I'm trying to be more active on YouTube, but my YouTube channel
Okay.
is still very small. I just uploaded my second real video,
Okay.
which is just called the channel is called Alexander Amin, just like me. So yeah, please give me a follow over there if you would like to see
Yes.
more. And I usually announce on LinkedIn whenever I'm going to speak at a new conference. So if you want to see me in real life, feel free to reach out on LinkedIn.
Definitely, like everyone should follow Alex channel because he is sharing so much informational things regarding AI, and also he's planning some great work in the upcoming days as well. So you will find a valuable content there. So I also encourage everyone to follow his channel. So thank you once again, Alex, for joining today and for sharing your expertise with everyone. It was really a pleasure talking to you here.
Thank you so much for inviting me. Likewise, it was a huge pleasure to talk to you.
Thank you.